friends, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we're going to do my December wrap up. I read quite a few things in the month of December despite stopping reading on Christmas, because that's typically around the time when I just don't read for the rest of the year. It's a thing I've been doing the last couple of years. I've already talked about a couple of things that I read in the month of December during my 'Tis the Season of Dawn wrap up, which I will leave linked in the card up above. With that being said, let's get started. The first thing that I read in the month of December was actually my favorite book of the month, and that was Deadly Little Scandals by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. This is the second book in the Debutante series. I think the series is going to continue, but it's not confirmed. The first book is Little White Lies. The first book follows a girl who's basically felt her whole life she was missing something. Her grandma, who she's never met, says, "I will pay for college if you come and be part of our debutante season," and she accepts. And basically it is Southern scandals and discusses that, and I really enjoyed the first book and gave that one 5 stars, and so I was really excited to read this one. I quite frankly really enjoyed this book. I gave it 5 stars. However, I do see some of the criticisms. This book is just wild enough to be believable and the best way possible, and I ended up giving it 5 stars. Next, I read Heidi's Guy to 4-Letter Words. This is about Heidi, who all she's ever known is being an elementary school teacher. Unfortunately, due to school cutbacks, she has been let go and she gets a new job, and this is kind of the story of how she kind of grows to come out of her shell, has feelings for her next door neighbor, and I ended up giving this one 5 stars. It was so cute. My one friend who is from the Midwest says it is the perfect explanation of how Midwest feels, and it was an absolute blast. This was my second favorite book of the month. Next, I read A Duke by Default by Alyssa Cole, which is the second book in the Reluctant Royal series. This is an absolute gem of a series. I enjoyed the first book when I first read it. However, I took some time between first book and the second book, and I am like eager to continue on in the series. This one follows the best friend of the character in the first book and how she goes to Scotland to just on a whim. I really enjoyed this one, and I gave it 4 stars. I didn't like the format that I was reading it in. I feel like it hindered some of my enjoyment of the story. So I ended up giving this one a 4. Next, I read The Slow Regard of Silent Things by Patrick Rothfuss. This is the 2.5 in the King Killer Chronicles. This is basically following Ari, who is a character who we see in the first book, and it is very whimsical. I ended up giving this one a 3 stars. It was kind of hard for me to follow, but I really like Ari as a character, so I was enjoying seeing more of her. However, the story was just a little too whimsical for me, so I ended up giving this one a 3. Next, I read The Starless Sea by Erin Morgenstern, which I still don't know how to describe properly because it is just a book about books and with lyrically beautiful writing that just makes me drool. And if you're not in the know, you're not in the know about her writing, and if you don't like it, you don't like it, and I don't know how to sell this book, and I gave it 4 stars. I love her writing. I really enjoyed the story. Next, I read Merry Inkmas by Talia Hibbert. I read this with the Dragons and Teen Book Club. This involves a girl who basically gets fired from her job in front of a guy who owns a tattoo parlor, or works at a tattoo parlor. I'm fuzzy on the details on that right this second. And she gets offered to work there, and kind of like the budding romance that ensues from there. It's really short and was really cute, and I gave it 4 stars, and I am looking forward to picking up more Talia Hibbert in the future, because I've enjoyed pretty much everything that I've read by her as of right now. So this one was fun, it was steamy, it was short. Next, my partner and I picked up Down Among the Sticks and Bones by Shauna McGuire. Me and my partner last month read Every Heart a Doorway, and so we continued on in the series and read Down Among the Sticks and Bones. He personally liked this one better. I ended up giving this one a 4 star. This one is very complicated to me. This one follows Jack and Jill's story as they go to the moors and are subsequently thrown out. I really enjoy this story and everything that it does. However, you kind of know this story if you have read the first book, and it's complicated, and I really enjoy it and the world, but you kind of know everything that's going to happen, and that's the only thing that brings me down is you don't really have anything that's surprising. There's basically every story beat that happens in it, you kind of can predict what's happening, which is really frustrating. but I really enjoyed it and I still gave it 4 stars. And he enjoyed this one more than the first one, which is next I read The Suffering, which is the second book in the Girl from the Well series by Rin Chipico. I can't say too much more about this one because it is the end of a duology, and it relies heavily on the knowledge of the first one, which really sucks to talk about duologies like that. But it involves a kind of girl who was murdered who now looks after children who have, you know, bad situations happening to them, and she finds herself really interested in this boy who she wants to help. And I ended up giving this one a 4. Both books in the series are 4s. This one has a lot of Japanese mythos involved in it, and I really enjoy Rin Chipico's writing. And even though this is a YA story, it is still pretty good YA horror, so I was pleasantly surprised. Next, I read The Detective Wins the Witch, which is the 10th book in the Nocturne Falls series. I have been kind of slowly chipping my way through this series since October. This one is about Marigold, who is the flower shop owner who basically gets herself entangled with a private eye who used to be a detective, and kind of their blossoming situation. Marigold was a character I was hoping we were gonna eventually see get someone, because she is a single mom, and I kind of wanted her to be happy. For this series, it's really hard to like discuss because this series is pretty formulaic, but I really enjoy reading them. I ended up giving this one a 4. It's all about characters to me for this series, so I enjoyed the characters in this one. I gave it a 4. Next, I read the graphic novel for my adult graphic novel book club with the library, and this is Snowpiercer Volume 1, The Escape, and this is translated from French and was adapted into a movie. I ended up giving this 1 star. I didn't like the art, I didn't like the story, I didn't like the characters, and I didn't feel like we were explained into our situation that we were in very clearly. I feel like it could have used a prologue or like a hey, remember how we got here kind of situation, because it felt like we were just dumped and nothing was explained, and that's really unfortunate, and I didn't enjoy it. I gave it 1 star. Not continuing on with that one. Next, I read A Wedding in December by Sarah Morgan. This one I picked up because I wanted to read kind of like another Christmassy romance book. This one is about a couple of different characters. It's about a girl who is having a whirlwind romance and wants to get married after knowing a guy for like 4 months and wanting to get married on Christmas. Her sister, who does not want it to happen, but a guy who just kind of keeps popping up, and her mom, who is trying to kind of go along with it but not let her daughters know that her and her dad are gearing for a divorce, and the whole situation around it. I gave this book a 2 stars. It was very deep at some times, however it took a long time for this story to feel like anything to happen, and it was very cozy though. This was a very cozy story though, so I ended up giving this one a 2. It was okay. Next, I read Changeling by Molly Harper. This is actually a YA Molly Harper, which was really exciting. This was something I was hoping to get to in December. This is about a girl who finds out that she has magical abilities in a world where magic is, you know, only for certain people, and being kind of whisked off to a magic school. I ended up giving this one 3 stars. There was certain points where it just kind of felt very formulaic. However, I really enjoy Molly Harper's writing, and so I'm excited to continue on with this series because I'm hoping that book 2 kind of expands this world and makes it less formulaic. But I really enjoyed Molly Harper's writing. Next, I read Hark, the Herald Angels Scream, which is a horror Christmas wintertime anthology edited by Christopher Golden. I ended up giving this one a 2. Pretty short, but also had a lot of different authors kind of putting stories in. I liked a handful of authors' stories that were in it, but overall I was not a fan of this collection, and I gave a lot of stories 1 or 2 stars. There was a couple that were standouts, like I really liked Shauna Maguire's story, but in general, I felt like a lot of the stories ended with like, he screamed, she screamed. Like it ended before it really could begin. which was really frustrating to me. Next, my partner and I finished Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix by J.K. Rowling. This I am going to give 5 stars. However, I'm going to insert the caveat with this is a very nostalgic rating. This book is way too long. I feel like there are parts that could definitely be trimmed out. My partner and I listened to the Jim Dale narrated audiobooks for them, and we had to stop at a couple points because we just felt like it was just dragging for so long. But I just felt like this was going on for so long and there were sections that could have been cut out. I know that PTSD Harry is very important and we needed to see how awful Umbridge was. However, I feel like it was very easy to edit some of the situations to make it flow better, and it does not need to be this long. So I ended up giving this one a 5, but it's a nostalgic 5. I would probably rate this one a 3 if I was rating it in a non-nostalgic lens, especially since it came after my favorite one, and that's not because of PTSD Harry. I feel like that's completely valid. I just think this book is way too long. Next, my partner and I read Beneath the Sugar Sky by Sean McGuire. This is the 3rd book in the Wayward Children series. This is the sequel to the 1st book. It follows a character falling from the sky and demanding to see a character from the 1st book. And it follows the aftermath of trying to find this character and bring this character back. And I ended up giving this one 5 stars. This is my favorite in the series. I have read the next one after this one before, but that might change when Come Tumbling Down comes out or we read the next one. But I really enjoy this one. It balances everything we learned from the 1st book with all we know from the 2nd book, and I think it is a wonderful addition, and I really enjoy this one. And my partner definitely has a better grasp on the world and the portals, and really enjoyed this one, and I'm very glad. So we are gonna continue on with the next one at some point. And the very last book that I read in the month of December, which is also the very last book that I read in 2019, was Faking Under the Mistletoe by Ashley Shepherd. This was a book about a girl who is the intern for this company, and she is basically the event, she's in charge of all of like the Christmas events, and she ends up kissing her boss in order to save him from embarrassment, and they end up fake dating, and he is kind of a Grinch and she's the sunshine character, and it's kind of like one of those tropes. I ended up giving this one a 3 stars. It felt super long for quite a bit of the book, and a chunk in the latter half felt really serious after, you know, feeling very lighthearted for the beginning. But otherwise, I really enjoyed this book, and it really does have something for everyone. It's fake dating, grumpy character and sweet character, and it's an office romance. It really has a little bit for everybody, but overall I gave it a 3. So these are the books that I read in the month of December. What about you? What did you read in December? Let me know in the comments down below. If you like what you saw here today, be sure to like and subscribe. I normally post videos on Wednesdays. Thank you so much for watching, and have a nice day.